I was first introduced to John Paul Jackson's courses back in 2003. We had some of his trained teachers come to our church. They took us out to the streets to do what we refer to as prophetic evangelism. And it was astounding to me. For the first time, we got to go out and encounter people and touch the lives of people who would probably never darken the doors of our church. I love the idea of us getting to be light in darkness, getting to take the message of the gospel as well as the power of the Spirit outside the four walls of the church and bring it into the community. One of the things I most love, after our people have gone through some training, we would go out and we would do these prophetic evangelism outreaches. One of the things I love most to do is to speak what is not as though it is. To look at people, to have people come into our tent and sit down and look at them and tell them what we see on them. Tell them the destiny of God, an encouraging word, what the promise of God is for their life. I can remember vividly many times young men coming in and sitting down, and I'm looking at these guys and I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, I hope my daughter never brings a guy home that looks like that. And then by the Spirit, look past that and see God's purpose, see God's destiny, and then speak it to him and tell him, I look at you and I see a young man who's going to be an incredibly loving and faithful husband. I look at you and I see someone who's going to be a great father. You're going to be able to father your children the way your father has never fathered you. And then see tears repeatedly come down on the face of some of these young guys. Or encourage them in another way. I remember one young man in particular, he came and sat down and I told him, I said, there is greatness on you. I said, there's a great call on your life because there was a great call on your father's life and you walk in the same thing that your father walks in. And the young man was just overwhelmed by the impact of it. A few minutes later, he comes back with an older gentleman. It was his father. And he sits his father down. I get choked up thinking about it. And he says, Dad, he says, you got to hear what these people said about you. And then we told the father what we told the son. And we all cried. It was powerful. It touched their life in such a unique and powerful way. I love this stuff.
We were on a street and this guy came up to me with a dream. He comes up to me, and before he comes up to me, God speaks to me, says this guy's got rejection issues from his family. So I kind of knew the dream would be about that. And so I asked him, so do you have a dream you want interpreted? He said yes. His dream was that 3 big, huge white tornadoes are coming. And so him and his whole family, he was actually adopted, but him and his family, his adopted family, ran for the cellar and they all locked him out of the cellar. And so he was left up on land with these 3 huge white tornadoes coming. And he was banging on the walls trying to get in, and they wouldn't let him in. And so he sees these 3 white tornadoes coming, and they're huge, they're massive, and they're powerful. And he said it was so weird because they were so big and powerful, but they didn't touch me. I was never harmed. It was like I knew that they could destroy me, but they just kind of went around him, but they never hurt him. And so God gave me the interpretation. And so I said to him, in the past your family has tried to or has rejected you, but God's gonna move on you. And these 3 white tornadoes are representing God. They obviously represent the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And you're going to see how powerful they are, but they will never hurt you. Like your family did, they will never hurt you like that. And he just stood there and he's like, whoa, this is deep. And so he got up and he left, and I knew that, God had this plan for him, that he would realize the power of God and the move of God on his life. And he would realize, no matter how powerful, how big God is, God will never hurt him like his family. And so that I will never forget that dream. That was really cool. And just to be able to interpret that and speak into someone's life, that was really cool.
I was at the Sundance Film Festival, which we've done, gosh, like 7 years of outreaches there. And our team had come down to this fire pit, and we have these name tags that just say Spirit Dream Interpretation, and they always are just great conversation starters. And there were these 3 women who were at the fire pit and saw the name tag, and it didn't really take much discernment to see that they were lesbians. You could just sort of see that, and I knew that there was something really special for them, and that because of who they were and because of who we were, I just knew that the Holy Spirit was going to encounter them in a really powerful way. And one of the women, her name was Rachel, and she looked over and saw our badge and was like, "Wow, I'm a big dreamer." And I said, "Well, really, we're out here doing dreams, and if you have a dream you'd like interpreted, we'd love to do that for you." And so she said, "Well, I just had one the other night," and she goes, "It was really, really powerful, and it's just stuck with me for the last couple of weeks." And she said, "I had this dream," and she said, and I was at the edge of the ocean, and I was in my spirit form, and I saw the most beautiful ocean you could ever imagine, most beautiful water, crystal, just sort of glass. And she said, in the middle of this ocean was a boat, and in the middle of the boat were the rainbow colors. And she said, and as I was looking at the boat, I saw the rainbow colors on the front, and then I also saw an arrow pointing up. And as I looked at the arrow pointing up to the heavens, all of a sudden the rainbows shifted from those colors into pure white light. And as I saw this, she said, I looked over and I saw these huge cliffs on the right-hand side. And then I looked over to the left and I saw this incredible forest of trees. And both felt like they were calling to me. That was the end of the dream. And I'm looking at her and I'm just amazed, because I know that this dream, that the rainbow flag in this particular case, I knew the rainbow was about the gay pride flag. This was not about the colors of the rainbow representing the 7 spirits of God. I knew it was about her identity and it being shifted and God's white light coming to her. And I wasn't really sure how to say it at first, because I knew it meant her coming out of the place that she was in and into God's light. But I just asked the Lord to give me the words, and I just said to her, I said, Rachel, I said, I can see that you are hungry for true spirituality. And she said, yeah, I really am. And I said, I can see that you have a great desire to know the right path for you. And she said, yeah, that's true. And I said, well, I believe this is a spiritual dream. And I said, you even said that you were in your spirit form. And I said, my sense is that you are being called up to a higher place. That's the arrow. And as you go up to that higher place spiritually, you're going to go through a transformation that you literally are going to have the pure white light of the Spirit flowing in your life. And I said, it is going to feel like you have to jump off a cliff to get there, but the leader that you've always been prepared to become since you were a little girl, as you make that transformation, you're going to step into that destiny. And the whole time that I was talking to her, you could feel her spirit coming more alive. And we were just dialoguing about spiritual things. And we'd not yet told them that we were believers. It just hadn't come out naturally in conversation. But about 45 minutes into it, one of them looks at me and says, so, like, who the heck are you anyway? Are you like neo-pagans? Are you? And I was like, inside I'm thinking, I have absolutely no idea what a neo-pagan is. And I said, no. I said, actually, we're followers of Jesus. We're Christians. And all 3 of them at the same time, their jaw dropped open and they all sat back and they just stared at us. And they're like, no way. And I said, yeah. I said, we're followers of Jesus. She said, how can that be? She said, you're not judging us. And she said, and there's so much love coming from you. And it was a really important learning time for our team, because I thought how sad it is that this was a poignant thing for her to say. How sad it was that she was amazed by the love that she was feeling from us, because shouldn't that be what people feel from every Christian? Anyway, what transpired was this incredible conversation after that, where we were talking about the Lord, and And we come to the end of the conversation. They weren't ready to receive the Lord, but I knew that so much had transpired, and it started from a dream and then just naturally flowed into all this spiritual conversation. So we hugged, and what was wonderful is, just similar to how we impart in the classes, I felt the Holy Spirit coming out from me to her. And what really ended up happening was not a hug, it was really more of a divine embrace. And I held every single one of the women for a long time, and every one of the other girls on the team did the same. And it was amazing what happened that night. And we left, and we happened to cross paths with them a little bit later on. And as we were approaching them, we could hear them dialoguing about our conversation and what had happened. And I just was amazed, because I thought it all started from a dream. You know, and 4 hours later, which is essentially how much time we ended up spending with them, you know, there was something that Jesus had deposited inside of them, a hunger that had been deposited for things of the Spirit that I knew hadn't been there before then, or that somehow we were able to just kind of help add to.